Nobody's born racist, but after teaching in Korea, I started wondering how these discriminatory thoughts build up in kids' minds. And if you're taught here in Korea, you know that sometimes the kids will say really fucked up things about even just other Asian countries, and nobody will tell them it's wrong. And Korea in general does not do a good job of teaching how to talk about or deal with other POC here. So this is my Korean American student in Guam. I was tutoring her, and here's the thing, even though they're living in America, my kids are only associating with other Korean people. Their parents speak Korean at home. They speak Korean in school with their Korean friends, so they're not really using English or mixing with other locals, which is why I'm there. The only reason they hire me is because I'm passable, because they can speak to me in Korean, and because my partner's Korean. I'll just say their parents only want them, by the way, hanging out with people that look a certain way. I'll just say that. So even though they live in America, they don't know about other people and other cultures. Since I'm their only window into other cultures, I like to promote learning about other people. So my kid did a project on the Philippines and colonization and history, but she's already embarrassed about her English in general. I don't want her to go up there and someone asks a question and she's confused because she doesn't actually know what she's talking about. She's just reciting the words off the page. So I start explaining things to her, and the conversation goes deeper. We start talking about colonization in Guam, Japan. We get to current events because they don't know the current events going on. They know more about Korean current events than they do American current events. Guam has a lot of tension with the military over there. My kid has no idea that Russia is in war right now, so I start explaining that to her. We talk about China, and she's like shook after this conversation, which is great. I want her to learn more about other people and current events we should know. But then she's like, oh my god, there's a Chinese girl in our friend group. And I'm like, so? She's like, well, I don't know if I can hang out with her anymore. We're supposed to go golfing this weekend, but after learning all this stuff about China and everything, Taiwan, there might be a war. Like, I can never look at her the same again. I'm like, girl, this is a country. She's one person. You can't judge one person off of this country. She's sad, but she's the only Chinese person I know, and I just can't think of her and talk to her the same way after knowing what I know about China and Chinese people. So we discussed this because I'm like, what do you know about Chinese people? She said, I know what you just told me, the story. I was like, wow, okay, that's how this happens. They don't have interactions with many other people. So when my kids hear something, they associate that one thing with the entire group. And now she wants to go share all this information with all her other Korean friends so they know about this Chinese friend. Then she said I was already worried about her because Chinese people started COVID. So it's just really interesting to see how these ideas start if people don't have conversations.
I kid you not, like my second day there, I got spat on.
What was the biggest reason that made you leave Korea to Japan?
I had to go. I would have stayed longer because, let me tell you, I had a bomb apartment. I was making buku dollars. I was making so much money. And like I was really in with the CEO. I was the director of an entire SEL like language institutions, face plastered all over the dang country. Y'all, the racism, I had to go. It was so bad that I had to go. Like I'm like a gentle soul and I just couldn't take it. I kid you not, like my second day there, I got spat on. And this was like second day. I'm fresh, like la la la, skipping through the street. There's like these two old men and I'm walking down the sidewalk and they're going like towards me like this, right? He looks at me with this ugly face and I'm just like, I wonder if he's like actually looking at me. He can't be looking at me. And then all of a sudden he just stops. He goes and spits on my, like the longest loogie hawk.
Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Beauty. If today is the first time coming across my channel, you are welcome. To the people who has been supporting this channel by subscribing and sharing my videos, I do appreciate all of you. So I came across this video and decided to share to everyone. These people right here, they are calmly explaining what many Africans has been talking about online for years. South Korea is beautiful, yes. It's modern and famous for K-pop and K-dramas. We all know that. But it also has a strong problem with racism and prejudice toward black people. The most common complaint is the constant staring. According to so many black people that have visited the country, Africans says people look at them like they are strange or dangerous. So many people also say some Koreans move away on the train, avoid sitting next to them, or acting scared when they see black people or Africans. Anyway, let's dive into these videos and we will come back to discuss more about this. Subscribe to this channel for more quality content like this. Comment your thoughts in the comment section and we'll be right back.
And spits on my shirt and I was so confused. I was like, there ain't no way. No, okay. Maybe he was aiming for something else. I replayed that in my head like 50 times. I'm still standing there, right? They're gone. I'm just still standing there in shock. Like, there ain't no way he just spat on me. he spit on me.
I am so sorry that you had to go through that, and it was a major yellow gunk, I guess.
Yeah, it was just nasty. I was like, there's no way.
Racism in Korea, let's talk about it. Recently, there's been this huge discussion of if you're beautiful in Korea, if you're non-white, blah, 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 blah. And I already gave my take on that. You can go see my profile. But what I want to say is, since living in Korea for almost 4 years now, I have barely experienced racism. Barely. Very, only once. Educated them, and then it was that. It was finished. And I'm someone who grew up in the South. I grew up in the rural South. Almost all of my experiences were surrounded by racism. And because of that experience, I'm so hyperly aware. And actually, this is the first time in my life that I'm able to actually relax and not think about my race in such a critical standpoint of my life, to make it seem like the centerpiece of my life. So a lot of people are saying like, oh, they don't like black people. I don't think that's true at all. When existing abroad, you are known as your passport. So essentially, oh, you're American, you're South African, you're this, you're that. Yeah, of course, they have certain stereotypes for certain nationalities, but it's not all entirely based in race, at least from my experience. And before you go, oh, you're light skinned, like it's because of colorism. Yes, I will admit that colorism does play a part. But I have Nigerian friends, South African friends who get adored and compliments everywhere we go. It is not because of you being black. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to experience racism for being black. You're going to experience some sort of discrimination because of your passport.
Okay, now that's out of the way. This happened to me in 2022. And I know that some of you guys have shared this story on my behalf. And I had a lot of people in 2022 telling me that people are sharing my story, blah, 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 blah. But honestly, I appreciate everyone who shared. Like, I don't care that you guys shared the story. In fact, I wish that I also had the courage to share the story myself. But when all of this was happening, I became like very sick. I became very stressed, and I had to go to South Africa. I had to move out of this place. So there was just a whole lot of things going on, because this man right here was scary as hell. This man hated me, guys. Like, and he literally even said it here that he is warning me. And he wasn't joking, because every chance he got, he shouted at me, like everywhere. Like, if he saw me, he would shout at me. He would scream at me. I do have videos that I'm going to upload, right? But I just want to share my experience, and just, I don't know who it's going to help, but racism in Korea is a real thing, as we all know. And I don't know. I feel like I've always wanted to share this, but I just never had the energy to do it, you know. And just finally tonight, because I was telling my friend the story, and I'm like, you know what, actually, because every time when I share the story, I just get people being so shocked, you know, like, that really happened to you? Yes, it did happen to me, guys. So it was just a random day. Honestly, I do not sleep. I have crazy insomnia. I usually keep up with South African hours instead of Korean hours, right? So I'm usually awake like midnight. And those of you guys who know Korea, it has thin walls, and like apartments are just so close to each other. So you can basically hear everything happening in the neighbor's house. That's how that apartment was. Like, it was worse than any apartment I've lived at, you know. And you could also hear people just walking up and down the stairs. Like, that's just how it was. So it was just in the middle of the night. I think the time was around 3 a.m. and I heard someone fiddling with my door. And I'm just like, what is going on? Is this person drunk or what? But like the noises were just too close to home. You know, I could hear that, like, no, this is literally happening on my door. But I was like, whatever, I'm not going to check, because like, Korea is safe, right? Nothing is going to happen to me. And then I just go to sleep, honey. When I wake up in the morning and I'm leaving for work, not in the morning because my work started at 1, in the afternoon. So when I was leaving for work and I closed my door, surprise, surprise, I know it's for you, beautiful black girl. You are such a beautiful queen, and welcome to Korea. Okay? I mean, that's a joke. You guys can see it right here. So man said, don't be loudly, sound a footstep in the night. Here, it's not a place to live alone. He didn't end it there. And he said, you black, beautiful queen, right? Right. So then I'm like shocked, scared for my life. At that point, I didn't even know that this meant like, I am warning you, girl. You better kneel walking up those stairs. Stop walking, okay? Stop using your feet to walk because you're an animal. You're not a normal person. You should actually be crawling down the stairs. Do you understand? I am warning you. I didn't know what it meant, but I was still just like, I'm dreaming. No, this is a dream. This is not real. I took a picture and then I went to work. I mean, at that point, I froze. I froze. I was like, no, this is not happening to me. This is not happening to me. You know, when you experience something and you're just like, no, I'm in denial. This did not just happen to me. Hell no. Like, no, not me. You know, I know that these kind of things happen, but no, not to me. You know, I was just in shock, in denial. I didn't want to believe that something like this had happened to me. But I went to work. I mean, I sat down for a moment. I didn't know what to do. And then I had my colleagues at the time. They were from England. They were 2 white people from England. The race is important in this, you know, context. So then I show it to the girl. I'm like, girl, look at what I found. And the girl is like, oh, girl, no. This is your door. And I'm like, girl, this is my door. Because we lived in different buildings, right? She's like, girl, no. And I'm like, girl, yes, this is my door. Somebody left this on my door and I don't know how to feel. I don't know what to think. I don't know what to do. She's like, girl, you got to tell the Korean teachers, okay? And then I go and tell my Korean teacher, my Korean manager at the time, right? And then I tell her, girl, this is what I found on my door. What should I do? And then now I'm starting to get furious because I'm like, no, this is actually wrong. Like, this is actually unacceptable behavior. You know, now I'm starting to feel what I'm supposed to feel. Like, the shock is just leaving my system and I'm starting to actually be like, huh? I just shit. How dare you? You know? And then now I'm starting to feel the anger, you know, I'm starting to realize what happened. And I tell my, you know, obviously they try to play it down like, oh, maybe he doesn't know what it means and stuff. And I'm like, no, there's no way. This person knows exactly what they're talking about. And I need you to contact the boss lady and tell her what happened. Because like we had a manager and the boss lady was not in our branch most of the time. That school ended up messing with me. Listen, the story continues. As I said, this is a series. If you guys are interested, just let me know. I will tell you guys the whole story because I have the energy for it and I am ready, okay? So then I'm like, tell the boss lady, I want to take this up with the authorities. I want to report this man to the police, you know? At first, I just thought, like, obviously the man is just going to come home, come to my house, bring like a peace offering and say, girl, I'm sorry. Like, I didn't know that it was offensive to call you, like, black, you know, blah, 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 blah. Right? So that's just what I thought. So I was like, okay, the situation is just going to end soon. It's not a big deal, you know. He probably really didn't know, as some Koreans claim, you know. So then I tell my boss, I'm like, baby girl, listen, I'm not happy. I don't feel safe. I need to go to the police station. Girl is like, okay, don't worry. I'll come tomorrow. We can go together. And I'm like, oh, look at her. She's so supportive. She's so nice. Listen, there's a plot twist, okay? Don't get ahead of yourself. So Miss Lady comes the next day. We go to the police station. And she drives me to the police station. Super nice, right? And then obviously it takes forever because they don't have a translator. But we open a case and we have to come back. I don't know after how long because they didn't have a translator. So the translator was going to be available at this date and whatever. So then I had to go back alone. I mean, which I understand. Honestly, I feel like her going with me that first time was like, I support you. I agree with what you're doing. Just do whatever it is that you want to do so that you can feel better. You know, I'm here for you. I was very happy about that, honestly. And then the second time I went, reported my story. And, okay, in the meantime, nothing is happening to the man. They cannot get a hold of the man. They're trying to call the landlord. What happened, right? But the landlord is like, oh, the man is nowhere to be found, which I think was a lie. For days they couldn't find the man. He lived in that apartment. I could hear that man breathe. Okay, so the man wasn't available, right? And then I reported my case. I have my case number, which I lost, by the way. But I'm not interested in reopening this case. I'm just telling the story because I just want to move on from it, and I just want to raise awareness, and I just want to help whoever that I can help, and I just want to let you guys know what's going on in these Asian streets, okay, in these Korean streets. I don't want to attend to this anymore, okay? So the man was nowhere to be found, right? And then eventually they found the man. Okay, so when they found the man, they spoke to the man, asked the man to apologize. The man said no. He said no. Okay, he said, I said what I said. I said what I said, and I'll do it again. I just beat my tongue. Who's talking about me? So, to be continued tomorrow. Katele kuluma kubuhlungu.
One thing that Koreans do often that I absolutely despise is looking down on Southeast Asians, that they're somehow not as good, that it's an insult to be mistaken for Filipinos or Thai. And a lot of this comes from Koreans' perception that these countries are poor, they're less developed, which are very outdated perceptions, by the way. And not to mention, Koreans, like many East Asians, idolize pale skin. They tend to just not like darker skin tones. Just look at the issue of Copinos, where Korean men go to the Philippines, sleep with Filipino women who become pregnant, and the men just run off back to Korea, abandoning the mother and their children. And a big part of why this happens is because there are a lot of Korean men who think these women in these countries are just playthings for them because they come from a richer country with more money. It's an absolutely disgusting mentality. But Koreans should not treat people from the ASEAN countries like this, not just because it's the decent thing to treat everyone with respect and dignity, but also for the reason of karma, because have Koreans forgotten Pyeongjahuran when the Qing invaded Korea, called Joseon at the time, in 1636. The Qing dynasty was a country raised by the Jurchens, known as Yeojin in Korean. The Jurchen people lived in northeastern China, right above Korea. They were semi-nomads who generally lived in tribes without a central authority, and for the longest time, Koreans treated the Jurchens terribly. There's a passage in the veritable records of the Joseon dynasty, otherwise known as Joseon Wangjusilok, that writes, "These Jurchens are beneath us and they are our servants." Joseon would repeatedly attack and harass the Jurchens. They would invade and take land. They would decimate their people. They considered them savages that needed to be put in their place. Well, guess what? These savages raised an empire. They united under Nurhaci, defeated and humiliated the Ming dynasty. Then they invaded Joseon, got the king to surrender, in which the king of Joseon knelt 3 times and bowed 9 times in front of Qing's emperor at the time, Hong Taiji, and promised to be their servant state. This part of history is called 삼전도의 굴욕, the humiliation at 삼전도. This is how proud the Joseon people were, that they recorded this as humiliation because they never thought these people that were below them would ever grow to be so strong. But this was not humiliation. This was karma. And you know what? This can happen again. Sure, Korean culture is riding a high right now. Korea is economically advanced and whatnot. But there is a future where Southeast Asian countries become so much stronger and richer than us and have way more cultural cachet than us. It can happen. And you know, at the present state of how Korea is going, it will happen. And the kind of relationship we will have with them then will be determined by the kind of relationship we have with them now. It's not that people should be nice to people only because of the fear of potential payback later down the line. Being nice and giving respect is the bare minimum. I'm saying this because there are a lot of Koreans who need to hear it this way, because a lot of Koreans instinctively put people in levels and treat them accordingly, not knowing that these levels are completely arbitrary and they also shift all the time. Especially when Southeast Asians have been nothing but amazing to Korea, even when we were the poorest country in the world. Because have we forgotten how the Philippines and Thailand deployed thousands of troops to help the South in the Korean War? So to all the Koreans who think that they're better than others, they're better than Southeast Asians, get out of here with that, oh? 그런 생각을 한다는 것 자체가 네 인간성 급을
So Koreans are actually one of the most racist people on this planet, especially towards other Asian countries like Japan, China, Philippines. I mean, we have a derogatory term for every single Asian race out there. It's actually crazy. And I look like a Southeast Asian, right? So whenever I go back to Korea and I hear these derogatory terms, I'm just like, what the actual fuck? But on the flip side, Koreans also idealize white people like crazy amounts. And there's literally a saying in Korean called 백마탄다, which refers to riding a white horse, which is a euphemism for sleeping with a white person, right? And to be honest, Korea's never really been that multicultural of a country, right? So like fair. However, because of like media and Western influences, like every Korean just wants to become pale and white. To be honest, like if you want to look pale, if you want to look white, I mean, it's completely up to you, right? So I'm not going to judge you for that. It's your choice. But like, at least don't be racist to people that don't look white, right? The other thing is like, Korea is such a looks-oriented society, right? I mean, you'll notice this if you live in Korea versus in the West. When you meet a Korean, like within the first couple of seconds, they'll literally comment something about how you look. For example, I have quite a big eye for an Asian, so they'll say, oh, you've got a big eye, for instance. Whilst in the West, I don't think I've ever had a situation like that. Okay, like people usually mean it as a compliment and like, fine, thank you. But at the same time, it just shows that the whole society is very much hinged on looks itself, versus in the West, you know, other values might be more important. That being said, I think like, especially with younger generation these days, like with looks maxing and all that shit coming up, like, generally like society has trended more towards like, you know, favoring people that are better looking, for instance, that fit more towards a certain standard of things, which I think it sucks generally, but in Korea, it's like 100 times more intensity. And I really feel this when I, for example, go to a restaurant or go anywhere with my really good looking friend. I can just tell that the service is just different. It's like, it's a new experience, basically.
Sure, let me tell you this. So, Korean people are very somehow close-minded. They don't really familiar with different people. When they think about like foreign people, they are only familiar with, you know, USA or white people or some European. They don't know much about, you know, other people, other countries or other, you know, nationality. Not because they're ignorant or something like that. It's just like they never had a chance to, you know, get to know them. Media is a big part. Media only shows, you know, white people or black people even. They think like all the black people are like, you know, drug dealers or gangsters or they're making, you know, lots of trouble, things like that. Even though it's not true. You know what I mean? Because I'm just telling the truth, guys. It's just like a media, and that's how people think, you know, because they only, you know, watching those kind of media through news or, you know, Hollywood movies, right? So, and also our media showing that a lot of, you know, Philippines or Bangladesh, all those, you know, Southeast Asia, it's the cheap labor, right? So people come here and work in South Korea. So they think they only see like people who's coming here. That's the only people who they experience while they're living in Korea. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of tourists as well. A lot of, you know, rich people or wealthy people who come to Korea and, you know, travel around. But there's a more chance, more people we see, you know, we in the media or in a real life. That's why people immediately think when you are like color, so they are like, oh, you think like you are poor and, you know, they treat you bad.
Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So after carefully watching these videos, I will tell you that these black people are not actually attacking South Koreans, but she's trying to warn people. She is saying, if you want to visit South Korea as a black person, be prepared, know the reality, protect yourself emotionally. Her message fit into a bigger conversations about racism, culture shock, and how black travelers are being treated around the world. Videos like this are trending because more African visitors and students are sharing their stories on TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram. You know, people talk about how they are being touched without permission, how they are being asked strange questions. Questions like, oh, you are black. Why is your skin different from my skin? Why are you so black? Questions like that. How you are being isolated, being treated differently from white foreigners. So these are what black people are trying to warn other black people. In case they are visiting South Korea, they should be prepared emotionally. So when they see things like this, they won't feel bad. I would say that a lot of South Koreans do not travel out of their country. Most of them stay in their country. So when they see black people or black skin, it looks so new or something strange to them because most of them has not actually visited a lot of places. But my opinion is people don't need to be racist in 2025. I mean, there's a lot of things happening in the world. Black people are everywhere. People don't need to be racist toward one another because black people has been existing for centuries, for years. Black people are not new to the earth. People need to understand that different colors exist, not just white skin color. Anyway, these are my thoughts, these are my opinion. Subscribe to this channel for more quality content like this. Comment your thoughts in the comment section, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.